Let's just sit here together for a little bit. Who else feels like they're constantly rushing to the next thing, rushing to the next achievement, rushing to the next phase in your life, to the next goal, to the next event, to the next vacation? It's just like I feel like we're almost wired to just rush. Like we're rushing into the future. And the future doesn't exist. Literally, all that will ever exist is the present moment, right now. That's all that will ever exist. Tomorrow doesn't exist. A year from now doesn't exist. And if I've learned anything in the last year from experiencing extreme burnout, depression, a really difficult breakup, a broken heart, sadness, feeling lost, feeling stuck. Just so many things surfaced for me in the last year. And they all had to, because it all helped me wake up in my life to see all these patterns that don't serve me. And it's funny because all these patterns, like, I'm just so used to doing them that they all want to stay in my life. And I'm becoming aware of them for a reason. I know this. And there's this old part of me that I know I'm no longer this old version of myself, but there's this old part of me who just through like habitual routines, like wants to prove herself, push through to the next phase, like have it all figured out, continue creating even when it doesn't feel authentic, like push, 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 do, 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 and just really operate from this forceful masculine place. And that is how I used to run my business. And I think that that probably led to like success in a way in the past for me in my business and through social media and all these things that, like it's an old operating system that I was operating from. And at a certain point, again, about a year ago, almost like to this day, maybe a little bit over a year ago, I realized that my body was like really screaming at me to change, of like, this is not working anymore. This is not the way forward. And I didn't see it at first. It took me so long to finally actually sit with that knowing of like, I can't keep running my body into the ground. I can't keep like running off of stress, living in fight or flight, waking up anxious, and constantly pouring out of myself, because at that point I was working so much that all I thought about was work. All I thought about was creating content, serving my clients, building this business, and none of it was resonating anymore. None of it was lighting me up. I was waking up for the wrong reasons, like in this business, I guess you could say. Okay, it wasn't filling me up anymore. And I know that a lot of people can operate in their business from a place of like, whatever, and doesn't matter if it's aligned, but I can't. I can't. And I think that like that's okay. Like we're allowed to be different. People can operate from different places, but I just know in my soul, in my body, in my knowing that I want to be like lit up so freaking high from what I'm doing and how I'm serving people and what I'm creating. Like I want it to feel authentic and aligned and genuine. That's just me. But we can't ignore the fact that so much of our society is built off hustle culture, doing, doing, doing. Rest is for the weak. Don't take a rest day. Grind it out until you get to where you want to go. And again, like for some people, okay, if that works for you, great. Not saying anything bad about that, but I know that for so many of us, especially as women, we want to be in our feminine. We want to be feeling aligned with what we're doing. We want to cherish the present moment. And I think a lot of unhappiness and depression and stress and feelings of like even unworthiness or unfulfillment, like it comes from operating from that place of stress and always doing and always pouring out of ourselves and never really giving ourselves time to go within. And I'm kind of jumping all over the place, but let me just give you an example. Like right now, I'm going to Vancouver later. I'm going to show you my situation. I have clothes everywhere. I'm packing. And in the past, I probably would have just like rushed to pack, rushed to have everything ready, like da da da, make sure I have all my ducks in order. I don't know, just like operated from a place of rushing. That's the best way I can describe it. Like just rushing to the next thing, like doing, not really taking a second, not being in nature. And I can't operate from that place anymore. I guess what I'm trying to get across is we are not here to work ourselves to the bone. We are not here to rush to the next thing or speed up time or have it all figured out or be this like complete perfect version of ourselves. Like we are always going to be growing, we're always going to be learning and evolving and changing. But if we're not here in this moment, like if you're always looking ahead, if you're always waiting for that next thing, if you're always like, okay, well, after this happens, then I'll be happy, then I'll be confident, then I'll be XYZ, like we are not actually really living our lives. It's the same thing as if we care so much about what other people think, our lives are not our own, like straight up. And it goes hand in hand. Usually we're waiting for this external event or this external achievement or change to happen because we think that will give us more love from others or will be perceived differently, or it's all coming back to like feeling worthy. But that comes from within. And something that I'm really, again, trying to learn and unlearn and reprogram within myself is knowing that my worth is not based in how much I do or how much I work or how much money I make, even, because that is something that I have held onto for a really long time. I made my whole life about work and social media and my business. And while there gets to be that side of it when you're really passionate and aligned with something that you're doing, like for sure, if you're just like, loving and thriving and kind of like obsessed with whatever you're doing, like that's great. But when it no longer starts to feel aligned, when it starts to feel stressful, when it starts to feel like it's taking over your life, when it feels like you can't think about anything else, that's when it starts to become, I would say, in my opinion, unhealthy. And for me, that turned into, again, like really believing that unless I have X amount of clients or X amount of money in the bank or X amount of revenue coming in each month, like I'm not worthy. I'm not important. It's crazy, that narrative that I held on to for so long. And so I guess, to be honest with you, I don't really know what I'm saying. I don't really know what I'm talking about right now. I'm kind of jumping all over the place, but I guess I'm just recognizing that there is so much more to life than work or money or things or how other people perceive you, of course. The way that I want to show up in my life now is through being in nature and having really aligned, beautiful connections with people that light me up and connecting with the universe and feeling like I'm operating and living from a place of complete alignment and trust and connection to myself and to source. And maybe that is right now a slower way of being. I'm really just trying to find myself again, I guess, through this kind of in between phase that I talked about in one of my last YouTube videos. But I think we can all resonate with this. Like, the reason why we feel stuck and lost is only because usually we've put this pressure on ourselves to hold ourselves up to some like random, weird, false societal standard or pressure. We don't have to be anything that we don't want to be. And what is actually meaningful in our life is whatever we give meaning to. My purpose is just being me. All of our purpose is just being us, being yourself, being your authentic self. And I think that what I'm trying to get at with this too is when we stop rushing, when we stop looking into the future, when we stop waiting for something to come into our lives, we stop waiting for the future to happen, we get to be present with ourselves. We get to go inwards. We get to find stillness. And then that's where we find that we had everything we needed all along. It's never going to be some destination or endpoint that we get to that finally makes us happy or confident or worthy or abundant or whatever. It's like right now, everything that you are is exactly right. It's just sitting in the present moment, sitting with yourself, spending time with yourself, finding that stillness that a lot of us we've lost touch with, being bored or doing nothing or sitting in nature because we're just so programmed to like be on the go, be stressed, run off stress, like fight or flight mode, all these things. I see it all the time with women. We feel so guilty for resting, but it's in the rest that we find our power again. because it's in the rest that we connect to ourselves. When we slow down for long of us, we can hear whatever our body is telling us, whatever our intuition is telling us, and we can fall into deeper alignment in our life. Whereas if we're constantly going, we're constantly rushing. I'm looking at all my clothes right now, just being like, this is fine. I'm in no rush. There's nowhere to be right in this moment. And it's kind of like a random metaphor, but I feel like my clothes are representing kind of all the things that I think I want to do in my life. And it's so easy in society to feel rushed, to feel like there's a timeline, to feel like, oh, I'm this age, I should be further along. I'm behind in life. People are doing way more than me. This person is doing XYZ. And it's all robbing us of not only our happiness, but of our own unique purpose. Like, we can't rush our life, we can't rush our timeline. Divine timing is no joke. Like, everything that is meant for you will find you exactly when it's meant for you. It's okay to not know. It's okay to not have the answers. It's okay to slow down and be figuring it out and take a pause. And this is going to look different for everyone. For me, it's looked like taking time off work, really slowing down my days, being in nature more, and just letting that be okay for right now. Like, all we can do is trust where exactly we're at. Of course, we can take action. Of course, we can be intentional and, do things that are going to propel us forward, but not with the intent of rushing or forcing or pushing, because that's going to have a completely different energy behind it. With that said, I'm going to finish packing because I actually do need to finish packing. But just reflecting on, how can I trust exactly where I'm at right now? How can I be present right now, today? Just focus on today. What do I need to do today to feel aligned, to feel authentic, to feel like I'm, holding space for this version of myself, and to just know that there's nowhere to be? Because that fear that we have of like feeling behind or feeling like we're not doing enough or comparing ourselves or like we're wasting our life, like, that's just all a fake message from society that keeps us in this fight or flight stress mode where we aren't actually able to access our divine energy. And you're exactly where you're meant to be. Like, it actually can be really simple and easeful. Would love to hear from you in the comments if any of this resonates for you, if you're in a similar position. I'm appreciative of you for being here. This is a really special community, and I'm thankful that I can share my voice here in a very authentic way. This feels aligned for me. It feels natural and easeful, and I appreciate you. We got this. You got this.